New York Jets 7-4, 4-1 on the road. And Minnesota Vikings 9-2, 5-1 at home. U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We'll start with the line history in this one. Minnesota opening up as 3.5-point favorites. They are now 3-point favorites. The hook on the Jets at Pinnacle. It opened up on Sunday at 7:08 p.m. with regular just to pick them at 3.5. Took 10 cents of movement, 5 minutes in. 3 minutes after that, another cent. 3 minutes after that, another cent. 30 minutes after that, 9 more cents. It lasted at 3.5 for 47 minutes before it moved to 3. From a total perspective, it opened up at 42. Is now at 46. That's one of the biggest moves we've seen this late in the season that's not injury related. Unless it's because, it's not. It can't be because Darisaw is the biggest question mark, really, from an injury perspective. Cash-wise here, we have 5,018 tickets in, 38% of tickets, 43% of cash on the Jets. Then 96% of tickets are on the over, and they haven't given us cash flow yet. Spenny says that Jimmy needs all that info on the Kraken to make live bets. The Kraken does help. Sky Dragon says, Minnie's a team everyone has wanted to fade for 5 straight weeks. Their lines are always reasonable for an 8-2 team, and they always seem to cover. New York Jets come in off a 31-10 beatdown of the Bears at home. Mike White was excellent. Former USF, Western Kentucky star. 22 of 28, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. The Jets finished with a season-high 466 yards. White became the 5th player in NFL history to have multiple games with 300 yards passing and 3 touchdown passes in his first career starts. Joined Mahomes, Kurt Warner, Mark Rippon, Austin Davis. That's the group he belongs in, right?
Yeah.
It's funny you're talking about him off the top of the show and asking Jose to cover his ears because that jersey he wore, right, and the football he had for that 37 completions in his first start, that's in Canton. That's in the Football Hall of Fame. Oh, man, he's a funny guy. Funny career. Garrett Wilson was his number 1 target, 5 receptions for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns. Elijah Moore had 2 receptions for 64 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Conklin had 3 for 50. Zonovan Knight flourished. 14 carries for 69 yards, caught 3 for 34 yards. Ty Johnson ran 5 for 62, caught 1 for 16. The Bears' Trevor Siemian-led offense could do very little. They held the Bears to 4-13 on third down and just 292 total yards. Jets finished with 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. And Saleh does such a great job getting pressure without blitzing. And sure, it's very easy against the Bears, but it could be possible easily against the Vikings.
Yeah.
They're the second lowest blitzing percentage of any team in the league. CJ Mosley had a pick. Michael Carter is dealing with a low ankle sprain. He's day-to-day. It's better than they thought, so he could be back. Ashton Davis hamstring. Ogbui has a groin injury, and so does Chaz Surratt. Hard to believe there's a very tough football player out there named Chaz Surratt. Vikings bounced back nicely from their 43 loss to the Cowboys by defeating the Patriots at home 33-26. Cousins was 30 of 37 for 299 yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Justin Jefferson caught 9 for 139 a touchdown. Thielen 9 for 61 touchdown. Hawkinson 5 for 43. So Christian Darisaw is dealing with a concussion. They got Blake Brandel, did okay. He really did okay. The Vikings ground game struggled for the second week in a row, 27 carries, 57 yards. Darisaw is a big piece of that struggle, not being there. They held the Patriots, the defense, though, held the Patriots to 3 of 10 on third down and shut down their offense in the fourth quarter. The Patriots' fourth quarter, 2 3-and-outs, a turnover on downs, and a desperation drive that did nothing. The Vikings finished with 3 sacks and 4 quarterback hits. They had a 4th stringer at quarterback in Duke Shelley because Cameron Dantzler's out, Caleb Evans is out, Andrew Booth is out. Dalvin Tomlinson missed his 4th straight game. James Lynch filled in. I don't know how. I was on such a nice run live until that game, and I've been slipping since. And I look back and I say, how did the Patriots not beat this beat up Viking squad? I just fucking, oh God.
And Drew was on them straight up as well. I'm glad I had just the teaser because it felt like bad luck, but Yeah, Minnesota, if you look at DVOA, if you look at the market, I mean, you should be giving this is a higher end home field advantage team. You should be giving them pretty much 2 full points of home field advantage. So that's saying on a neutral, Minnesota Vikings are 1 point better than a Jets team. That I mean, go look at where the lines were for the Jets over the past few weeks. It is, I mean, these are both teams that are right near the middle of the pack, according to what the market tells us, what the power rankings, the biggest betting market outside of in North America, honestly, is telling us. Minnesota Vikings are not an elite team. They do just keep winning. They're 5-1 against the spread. It's been a little bit inflated, and they've gotten some late wins. Such is life. I'm tempted to wait, but there are 46s. I want this under. Like I said, Mike White isn't good. He doesn't get to face a JV secondary. It's not a great secondary, but Minnesota at least has a pass rush that'll get after it. And with Darisaw out, I don't think Darisaw plays. I'm leaning towards him being out. He's a top 10 tackle, man. He's important. The Jets have some pass rush. The Jets obviously have a secondary. The Jets defense has elevated it to a spot where it's, it's probably the kind of team that can shut down what Minnesota's been doing right. I'm a little torn because I want Tariq Woolen to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. So I'd love Sauce to just get embarrassed on TV, like just multiple times. Like Jefferson, just teabags him on TV 3 or 4 times. But yeah, it's the weakness of the Minnesota Vikings is coverage unit, secondary, and it's still 10 miles better than the dog shit that the Bears put out there last week. Like it's good enough to hold down a bad quarterback. So I do like this under a little. I'm tempted to wait because I think more money comes in on this over. Like the Jets they both put up 30 points last week. You might be able to bet this Sunday at somebody's asking if there'll be a 47. And yeah, that's the other thing too. I have a Justin Jefferson Offensive Player of the Year bet. Like everything points towards I want the Vikings to pass well, but I don't see it. I don't see it happening like it did last week against a really good pass covering, a defense. And a Mike White doing it multiple weeks in a row against a better team doesn't feel all that likely either. This feels 21-20. Somewhere in that, like I think we end up in the low 40s here. I would make this total like 43.5, 44. So I think it's quite a bit high and very tempted. I haven't fired yet, but I like this under.
So you don't want to make the under 46 -1 official?
Not official.
Okay.
Nothing yet.
Sky Dragon plays it at 45.5. Says, please bet this up to 47 so I can bet it again. I love the look. If I give you a $500 free play on the side at 3 points, who do you take?
I don't know, probably the Vikings, just because they got a horseshoe up their ass.
I'm still Jesus. Okay, I'm still hurting off of that last one. Okay. All right, let's roll on. I love the idea of waiting until it gets even higher. Sky Dragon's total came up to 43. I think it's a great idea that you guys have. Terry Walker likes the Vikings to cover. Spenny says Vikings secondary is awful. I love it. Mike Beaver says, who can stop Jefferson? If Belichick cannot, who in the hell can? And Birdie leaning heavily to the under here says, line is affected of last week's performances. Jets D is elite, should limit Vikings O. Jets O is not what they showed last week. I agree with all of you guys. So I will sit back and wait very patiently and keep an eye on it as well. I like the look from all of you guys.